Welcome back to EET 2303 for this Tuesday, March 31st. For today, we're going to talk about the second part of our forest growth assignment, and we're going to be introduced to our first equation that we'll be using in this assignment. But let's go ahead and just review the actual assignment sheet. This has been sent to you by email, so hopefully you have it by now. If you don't, you should have it soon, hopefully. Again, this is just a continuation of what we assigned before, and now we're just going to add some features to it. Okay, so in part one, you wrote a switch case section with options for 1, 2, and 3. So this part 2 procedure, we're going to talk about, the switch case option 1. What are we going to do there? Well, in the option 1 part of the switch case, first thing you're going to do is ask the user to input some variables. One variable we're going to ask the user to input is the reforestation rate, and that is the variable I. This value should not be greater than 0.2 or less than 0. This is in terms of percentage. So 0.2 is the same as 20%, and 0 is 0%. Okay, this value I represents the percentage of trees that will grow back per year, and this needs to be a decimal number. If you have the user enter it as the whole number percentage, then you will need to divide it by 100 to get to the decimal point value. So either ask the user to enter it as a decimal point value for the percentage, or ask them to use it as a whole number value. Then if that is the case, then the program needs to divide that whole number by 100 to get to a percentage value. The second variable we're going to enter is the number of acres that you have. This is represented by the variable PV for present value, and it must be a number greater than 0. So for this one is, how big is your forest today? Then the third variable that we're going to enter is for the variable N, where N represents the number of years you want your forest to grow. Like putting money in the bank. I'm going to put some money in the bank, and it's going to grow at a certain interest rate, and in a certain number of years there's going to be some growth associated with that. Well, we're just talking about trees this time. You've got a certain amount of trees in acreage. It's going to your acreage of trees is going to grow at a rate of I for n number of years. And so you will ask the user to input those three values for I, PV, and N, and your program should validate each entry. An incorrect entry should be re-entered. In other words, for like the size of the forest, it must be a number greater than a 0. Anything else doesn't really make sense. The reforestation rate must be between 0 and 20%. That is a limit imposed by me. Anything greater than 20% doesn't seem reasonable, so that's just my input to the equation. Okay. So once the user has answered these three functions to input this information, then you should write a function to solve for the future value of the forest, or how big is it going to be after so many years, using the equation below. Now again, this is the answer for part 1 of your switch case section in the part 1 assignment that you did. And again, your program should run until the operator decides to quit. And so for this program, we use the compound interest rate equation right here. The future value equals the present value times double parentheses 1 plus I, where I is the rate, and the 1 plus I is raised to the power of n, the number of years, and all that is multiplied by PV. So the future size of the forest will be the present size of the forest times the total quantity of 1 plus I raised to the n power. And to test, your equation after you've written it, you can just do some, like a simple 1-year calculation. If the forest starts out as 100 acres, and it's going to grow for 1 year at 10%, then the future would be 110 acres, the 100 plus the 10%. Okay, so that is what I'm asking you to do by the end of day Friday, which is, midnight Friday. If you have any questions, email me. There's nothing new as far as programming technique. We've already used the math.h function for the power function to raise the number to a power, which you'll have to do for this part right here. I would suggest that you break this math equation into at least 2 parts. I would say do this part first, then once you calculate this, multiply this times that in another line. So I'd make this, to simplify it, I'd make it 2 lines. Do this part in 1 line, and then do the multiplication in the second line for your result for this part. Again, if you have any questions, email me, and I'll be back with you on Thursday.